Savaloy, it's your boy, Yewzi. Welcome to another episode of Thru The DAW podcast. This one was another pleasure to make. I got to sit down with a female producer, ANIMAI. She comes from like a jazz dubstep world. She's super cool, super down to earth, but majorly talented. You should check out her latest single, which is called Islands. It's available on all streaming platforms. She's worked with loads of artists, Flo Dan, Youngster, Truth, and Little Boots. And yeah, we really properly went off on some segues on this one, so you're just gonna have to bear with us a little bit. But yeah, we talk about all sorts of shit, meditation, Mario Kart, and there's a lot of stuff in there. But you'll have at it, have fun, keep the peace, love your brothers, love your sisters. Just, I'm gonna shut up. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Bye. And then I get like 10 minutes in and I'm really engrossed in what the person's saying, and I'm like,
you're like shit.
Press record. I just like don't say anything. I just like put it on.
If you're like, this didn't happen.
Yeah.
They won't listen to their own podcast.
No, exactly. Yeah. I'll just chop the big front bit off. So yeah. So how's it going? You well?
Yeah. I'm good, thanks.
Awesome.
How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for being flexible as well on the timing. I was
right.
just, you know, those you just try and cram too much in.
Yeah, then you're like, what have I done to myself? This is a bad idea.
Yeah. I forgot what it was like to actually travel again. And,
where were you?
I just went over to the UK. So this podcast is hosted by Broken Bricks, which is normally me and two other people. Like an indie-tronica band.
Yeah.
And we were shooting a music video for a new release that's coming out. So
nice.
We've done 2 releases during lockdown.
Yeah.
And we could never get together for any photo shoots or videos, so we had to kind of like make our own footage, because I'm in Jersey in the Channel Islands.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jersey boy.
Yeah. Well, I moved 2 weeks before the first pandemic hit.
Oh wow.
Without any, I didn't even know. Obviously, no one really knew. There was kind of this noise coming out of, China. This thing's happening, but nobody predicted what actually happened.
No.
So I came over here and just, and then all that happened, and it all kicked off. So
you were on an island, literally trapped.
A rock, 5 miles by 5 miles. It's like, it is the rock. So we just haven't had a chance to get together. So the minute that they started relaxing the travel restrictions and stuff, we had this video shoot booked in. I was like, getting this sorted out. So it was just for that, really.
Nice.
And then but I was just not used to it. And then I flew. I went back up north to see my family, and then came back again. And that drive, I set off at like 3:30 in the morning, and got into the airport. And by the time I literally put my bags down, walked through the door, I was like, oh.
No, I can't talk to anyone. even someone I know very well.
I can't string this shit together right now. So thank you so much for that. But
it's all right. Mondays are my music day. Well, one of my music days. So I.
Oh, okay. How does that work out then? You carve your week up?
I carve my week up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, between I vocal coach as well. So
okay.
I do vocal coaching, and then I produce, as you know, my own music, and then and then I used to do gigs as well, but obviously that hasn't.
No. Have you been able to do most of that in a virtual capacity, like vocal coaching? And you can do that virtually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So at least then, I mean, obviously I've seen from the videos and the images and stuff you post, it seems like you've got quite a decent rig set up. Presumably that's at your home.
Yes.
So, I mean, as a kind of an ideal situation, really, if you're going to
Yeah. I lucked out. I just moved into that flat. And then... Yeah, like about 2 months before the pandemic hit, and it was the first time I'd had like a separate like little room to put all my stuff in. I'd always had it at the end of my bed, which is always quite amusing, just like rolling out of bed and then trying to squeeze in a desk, and then just be like up against Logic, like right up, really thin desk right up against my nose, just like this works. I think this works. I'm definitely not getting RSO.
Yeah. I had the same thing in. I used to have a basement flat in East London, and had a wardrobe next to the bed, and you pull the double doors open, and then there would be the Logic with the two little speakers, like Genelix or something.
Living the dream.
And just kind of like, like a Fender amp underneath it. And my who was now my wife, but like my girlfriend at the time, just sitting on the bed, like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Just like, I'm making music. You'll never understand.
You'll never get it. You'll never get it. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it looks like you've got a really good rig. It looks like you've got a really good setup there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
I was quite jealous. I was like going through, I was like, synths, and you've got all kinds of...
Yeah, I borrow synths.
Do you?
I wish I owned them. No, I borrow them from friends. Yeah. And I loan them to play with, and then I give them back.
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly. Haven't been able to afford one yet, sadly. But, you know, such is the life of a musician, right? Like, it's so expensive to, you know. I always end up buying little things. Like, I bought SP404 this year. It was just like...
Is that the Roland?
Yeah. It's a sampler, Yeah.
You
can get a really cool, like, lo-fi sounds on it.
Yeah.
It's great. Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
So I bought that. So that's been fun. I've been playing with that. But yeah, all the other... Yeah, I wish I had all those synths, but they don't belong to me. Yeah.
That's the problem with being in... When you start with electronica or whatever, there's so many different facets that you can go down. You either go down like the VST route of sampling and using loops for everything, or you can go down the I'm going to make my own live session loops, you know, with strings or whatever. But most of the synths, the temptation is to go down that virtual route, because like a Moog or something like that, you know, they'll set you back like £1,500 for like the basic.
I know. I looked into it. I nearly bought one. I nearly bought a Korg, but I just...
the micro?
No, I nearly... Can't even remember. You know when you're like, someone's like, you should get this one, and then I did loads of research into it and was like, I'm definitely getting this one because I could play chords on it as well. And I was like really excited.
Yeah.
And then I found one on eBay. I don't know I'm terrible with names of things.
I am.
And I feel like I feel like I should be better at it, just like representing the female producers. All other female producers are like, learn the names, probably. And I really don't want to let them down, but I'm just like, I can't remember the name of it, soz. But I did loads of research, was going to buy it, and then in the end was just like, I can't afford this. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Ended up buying like 3 plugins instead. So
you tend to find that people kind of like, they don't buy one synth and then get every single sound out of it. They normally get a synth, play around with it, make a couple of tunes, and then like it goes on the synth shelf, and then a new synth comes in, and then you go around to these guys' houses and stuff, and you just got like racks of these things.
I know, and you're like, how?
Surely you don't need all this shit.
I'm just also like, are you a millionaire? Like, how are you doing this shit?
Yeah.
I got the Arturia plugin, complete. And it's got like the Juno, it's got the Prophet, it's got the DX7, and I'm just like, although I would like to have all of those synths on me.
What's the point?
I also have them, here, and I can still play around. And yes, it's not the same, and I am actually more of a hands-on person.
Yeah.
But it does link to my Arturia, keylab, MIDI keyboard. So I can play. It does connect.
Yeah,
and I can play as if it is a synthesizer. So I'm dealing with that. I'm just having that's where I'm at right now. That's all I can afford. So I'm there. As soon as I make loads of money, I'm gonna be that person with all those synths.
Yeah,
and you can come round.
Yeah, but you know what though? You don't need. I mean, if you've got an ounce of talent these days, you've got like an entire recording studio in a laptop.
Yeah,
and you've got. I mean, I signed up to. What the fuck is it called now? Universal Plugin Alliance.
Right.
Because they've all started doing subscription. Like you used to buy plugins, and they used to be like, this one's £300, that one's £4,000, this one's, and it's like, what? The fuck? These packs are like, some of them are like 10 grand for a pack of six, and you're just like, it's software. I don't understand. Well, now they've kind of cottoned on and done a subscription basis, so you can just go in and subscribe, and a lot of them have started doing it now because they realise that people just people just go down the cracked route and just start getting cracked plugins because you
Yeah,
can't justify
exactly.
spending, £300 for a compressor or whatever. So I signed up for that, and you're like, it's something like £15 a month or something, and
Nice.
you've got access to, I don't even know how many's
But
on there. Way too many.
Can you keep the as in like do you get like the code and everything?
You do after
the license code and all that.
Yeah, I think it's either after 12 months or 2 years. I think it might be 2 years, and then whichever ones you've selected in your bundle, you get to keep them.
Oh right.
Yeah, but if you change them out, then you don't get to keep it at the end. So if you get
Right, I see. Is it a certain amount you're allowed?
Yeah, you just got to select the ones you want right at the beginning, and as long as you stick with those ones till the end, they're yours. But if you replace one halfway through, you don't get that one at the end.
Yeah, with you.
Yeah. So it's a new way of doing it, but
interesting.
like it is pretty good because I don't like using cracked stuff because it just.
No, I know.
I don't like getting music that way either, it just doesn't help the ecosystem. If everyone's getting cracked plugins, they're never going to make any good plugins ever again. And then
no, exactly.
What's the point?
No, I paid for my Arturia monthly.
Yeah.
I paid that off monthly. I paid a lot of things off monthly, in fact, in my life.
Yeah. Catalog model. Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds really good, actually. I might check that out. There's a couple of plugins that I want. I wonder if they're on there.
Yeah. You can get like smaller packages where you just get 10 or whatever, and you pay less, or you can get the whole.
You should. You're getting money for this. You should be getting money.
I know. Yeah, I need to reach out to you. I just need to get my shit together. Really.
Come on, you can be monetizing it.
We've been approached by mostly now it's like these affiliation schemes or something where you have to use a link and then they click through the link, and if they use the code from the podcast, then you get X amount extra.
Yeah.
But I just haven't got my shit together in order to even.
Oh mate, you've got. Come on, you've got to do that.
I know.
You know, like when you listen to a podcast and they do a little advert, like, what was I listening to? I think I was listening to Jay Shetty or something, and it was just like Holy Socks and something or other. Yeah. But like, if it was this one, I would actually be like so keen to hear the adverts because I'd be like, what's this? I can get some plugins at a discounted rate. Yes. Like, come on. Help us all out.
Yeah, there is no code, but maybe at some point in the future I should hit them up.
Dude.
Shit together. But yeah, so did I read somewhere that you created islands in lockdown, and that was kind of the inspiration for it? So what place were you in there?
Well, I actually did so Tigers and Islands were like tunes that I'd written a while before, but I hadn't actually finished.
Yeah.
And in the first lockdown, I arranged Tigers for string quintet because all my friends are instrumentalists who play like West End and in orchestras and do sessions in studios, and everyone was just so like in such a some people weren't getting any money, some people were getting some. I mean, it was just such a car crash, and like some people had families, and it was just horrible. So I was like, I felt like it. I'd seen loads of those lockdown videos. I didn't want to make another just, here's a load of musicians having a jam thing.
I was quite. Of those.
Yeah. But I mean, I obviously am making one of those. That's exactly what I made.
Yeah.
But what I mean is I was trying to make something that was like, I don't know, that like showed, there is a massive string outro, to be fair, which inspired me to want to write it for quintet.
Yeah.
I really thought it's something that was needed. I think people needed to see us all, didn't they? To see that we still existed and that, we were needed, not like we didn't need to retrain. I was just like, what the? We only all spent, 10,000 hours practicing our instruments, to be told.
Yeah.
Why don't you just become, I don't know, a lawyer? You're like, as if that's not going to take me.
Yeah.
It's like absolute madness. That was that time, wasn't it? So I wrote that arrangement and did that video in lockdown, and I felt. With Tigers, I felt like I was losing my mind. I redid the hi-hats. Yeah. I don't know what happened to me. I thought I was fine. I was like getting up, I was exercising, I was like doing production. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm being so productive. I've got all this time to do the thing I really want to do.
Yeah.
I was really on it for like the first couple of months. And then it started to go a bit downhill. And the only reason I knew it had gone downhill was because I kept redoing these hi-hats. And then for some reason I added in all these, I was like, oh, you can't hear all the chords. I'm going to add in more pads. So I added in all these pads so you could hear the full harmony, not just the bit. And then I remember listening to it and being like, you can't fucking hear anything. There's no frequency. And this is so bad. I was like, right, take it all out, back to the original idea. Yeah. And then just all I needed to do was like change the hi-hats really in the second verse. And what I'd done is completely fucked up my song. So I knew then that lockdown was affecting me. But yeah, I got it finished and it came out. And then I finished off Islands, and Island came out. That was the most recent one that came out. Yeah.
I mean, what was the sub-synth that you used on Islands? Was that
on Island? Oh,
yeah. I don't know what it is, but it's really lush.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just made it in Massive.
Did you? Yeah. You know, sometimes though, I find that that's the best way. You know, you like sometimes like we were saying before, like I bought an MK3, you know, the machine.
Yeah.
Can't say I'm a massive fan, to be honest, but I don't know.
Don't say that. You might want to do an advert.
Oh yeah, that's what
they're bloody great.
Oh, scratch that. This podcast is sponsored by. Yeah, and in there you get like 3,000 synths or something. And you'll sit there just scrolling through, and then actually you just get rid of it and just go into whatever's in the box, and just all of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah. That's the one you need. Yeah. 100%. And I think also like the plugins that you use, that you know, sometimes you can get quite like a normal, like one that sounds alright, and then by the time you've EQ'd it, and then you know, added a compressor, and then you know, some just, you know, saturator or something, all of a sudden it sounds like a different, as you know, I'm sure it sounds like a whole different bass. When it started, so.
Exactly. Yeah.
But actually, I mean, I'm not saying I'm the queen of that, because Ollie Dupree and I worked quite a bit on together on that. He's a sound engineer that I use.
Is he mixing? Or...
Yeah, he helps me mix it. Yeah. I do like a rough mix down, and then we get together and make it sound better together. But he's great. He does quite a lot of pop stuff, but I met him through a friend, and I think I really rate him.
Yeah, what's he called again?
Ollie Dupree. It's like
soon to be appearing on this podcast.
Yeah, you should get him on. Yeah. He's done some work on. He does pop, and I think he's done some sort of music for TV. He's quite a young guy. How do I spell Dupree? I think it's Dipre.
I'll find him.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Dupree. Yeah, he's lovely. He's got a space down at studio down at Talyard.
Okay.
But yeah.
Nice. I always think it's always nice to, especially in electronic music, you kind of, as you're making it in the process, you're mixing it as you go. Like you say, that you're finding like your EQing and stuff. So you're doing that kind of job anyway. But I think it matters how good you think you've got it. A fresh set of ears on a fresh set of monitors in a different room, in a different space.
Yeah.
Is always the way to go. Like I know quite a few people who take it from front to back. You know, they'll create the whole thing, mix it, and then master it on the same speakers in the same room. I'm like, it just sounds soulless. Like you need that. You need that extra element.
I think so, and also I think I'll just lose my mind. I feel like coming up with the idea and then developing it. The whole process is so. It's playful, actually. It's quite playful. I think if I get too stuck on what the actual end result is going to be exactly, then I can't finish a song. So it has to be a playful thing. Yeah. I'm always thinking about how I'm going to make the emotion in the lyric come out in the sound.
Yeah.
Like what is the emotion and the sound of that emotion, and what is the atmosphere around that? So I'm always trying to like find sounds, and the harmony is often based on that. So if it's something, I'm writing one at the minute and it's quite an unsettling, trying to make it sound quite unsettling, because the emotion behind it is this unsettling, fearful thing. And it sounds, and so I'm playing. And then I'm like, if I grab a sound, if I play a synth in or I grab a sound in, then I might think, oh, actually it needs more movement in it, and then I might stick on a filter plugin that's got a movement in it and roll through a load of presets and then play around with that.
Yeah.
And so it's always just trying to think of textures. And the most annoying thing is, like, when I do a really good one, it's when every frequency is just, it's almost like it does need to be mixed, but it just sounds fine because the way I've written it happens to sit.
Yeah.
Every frequency is taken, rather than it being like sometimes, like with Tigers, there were some points where like my vocal was in the way of like the pad or the strings in the pre-chorus. They're really close. They're in the same range as the vocal.
Yeah. No,
it's just like, oh my God, I've tried too many things now. I can't do it. Ollie.
Yeah.
Help me out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you write it and it all fits. All frequencies it fits. And that's exciting because it sounds good before it's even been properly.
Yeah, it's an interesting way that I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone that comes from like the emotive side of the lyrics, giving them the sound design. But it's quite a good way of doing it, because if you are thinking from that way, I could understand how you arrive at frequencies not clashing, because you're almost like giving everything its part and then piecing it together. Whereas normally, certainly for us anyway, we start off with like there'll be a loop or something that someone's created, and then it'll be in a key, and then so we'll pick up a guitar and put something over that, and then it builds from there, and then right at the end it's like we hand it over to our vocalist, she's a female vocalist. She's got a great range and stuff, and she normally just gets it and then puts some vocal line on it. So it's entirely the opposite. So we always end up with frequency clashes, and because we're not like making room for anything, we're just like load it up and then give it to the singer, and she can't. She's like, I can't do anything with that bit there because it's
there's no space.
It clashes with my vocal. Yeah. So
I
don't know. Maybe I'm going to pinch that idea and see if we can start writing lyrics first.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'm not saying that's the only way, because sometimes I might have an idea for some chords, and then I'll create like a drum pattern or something. Yeah. And then a melody comes in my head. And then sometimes lyrics just come out of my mouth. Yeah. And then I listen back and I'm like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. And then I start writing it based on that. Well,
the even weirder one is when they don't make sense, but then 6 months later you listen to it and you're like, oh, no, it did make total sense. Like at the time it just seems like gibberish, and then you're like, wait, no, I just predicted the next 6 months of my life. In lyrics, how the hell did that happen? Yeah, it's freaky stuff.
It's like some sort of ethereal download. Like,
it's weird though. I've had this conversation with a few people. The first person that I noticed speaking about this was Noel Gallagher, of all people. I kept seeing it coming up where he was talking about this, like his writing method, which just sit down and not think about anything and just keep playing, and it's like something's feeding information into his head, and he's just a conduit for it.
Oh my God!
And then they capture it. Yeah. And then he retrospectively looks back and listens to it and goes, oh, actually, yeah, that's pretty good. It's like he's not cognitively doing it. He's just letting it come from somewhere and come out.
I love this. Yeah. Have you read that book, Big Magic, by Liz Gilbert?
No, but I'm going to. Big Magic.
She's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she's obviously written other books. It's just that everyone knows that because it was a film with Julia Roberts, which is probably quite annoying for her, I imagine. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a good... I don't know. Yeah. But who knows? But she talks about in Greek times how this was what would happen if you wrote or made a piece of art. You wouldn't be praised yourself. Yeah. Your being that was your muse, that was sending you the ideas would be praised. Like, lucky you've got such a good person on your shoulder giving you all these ideas. So the person never became like the ego. Yeah, they didn't believe it was them. They believed they were being told the ideas.
Well, how much better would that be in today's like celebrity status though? Because it would just be like so much good. Better.
So good.
Than them being revered, like Miley Cyrus and stuff. Like, it
would be so good. I was thinking about this with it's a bit of a tangent here, but I was watching Star Wars the other day. Yeah. It's a bit of a random one now. But he says like you've got all the Jedi inside of you. Yeah. Now you become all the Jedi, because she nearly that. I was watching the most recent one. He was like, "You're going to become all the Sith," and she was just like, "No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'd rather become all the Jedi." Yeah. So she calls to the Jedi, and they will come to her. But there was something I was reading in a psychology book, and it was saying about how all your past, all your they're talking about DNA and how you can, all your parents' emotional traumas and your grandparents and all these things get passed into you.
Yeah.
And you can actually undo this DNA in your body and rewrite yourself and heal yourself.
Yeah.
So I often think like actors, or, when they're getting all these emotions and they're finding these other characters inside of themselves, I often do think like, well, you've got all your ancestors and all their emotion, that all they went through, and somehow you're tapping into it. Yeah. And you're like able to become and feel all these things that other people have felt.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of, sorry, I went off on one there, but that's the kind of way I think of like that sort of thing with actors. I feel like it's a bit like they have all the Jedi. they have all their fam, all those emotions. Even sometimes they might not have felt it, but they or had an experience, but they're able to tap into it. It's like they've become able to connect.
Yeah, you know what? You can go down so many levels on this, but I do transcendental meditation. I've been doing it. Have you ever heard of TM, transcendental meditation? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you do it?
I meditate. Yeah. I do. I've done all of Headspace. I've done all of the Waking Up course with Sam Harris. And I've been doing this other one, which I think is, oh my God, I can't remember, but it comes from a type of yoga at the moment, and it's got like sounds in it.
It's like a chakra opening type.
Yeah, thing. I've been doing that recently as well. Yeah. But I'm like really into it. So I'm really, please tell me about it.
Yeah, so so I went down that kind of route where I just kept freaking out and stuff, and I needed to find something. Something was wrong. Yeah. So I started doing the meditations and stuff, and I was getting like something out of it enough to keep me interested, but it wasn't giving me everything that I needed. It wasn't giving me what I was seeing these yogis having, this like blissed out thing. So I was like, I kept on searching, and I found transcendental meditation. And what interested me about it is it's not to do with mindfulness. It's actually to do with removing your mind out of the way and almost like killing off the static noise that goes on in your mind all the time. Yeah, kind of like the day-to-day turbulence and trouble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once you detune from that, it's still going on, but you kind of remove yourself from it. And when you do that, you feel this blissfulness. It's the only way you could describe it, really. It's just like a constant feeling of blissfulness. And the idea is you're given a mantra. It takes about 4 days to train how to do it, but I don't really think they need 4 days, because all they do is really they give you a mantra, and all a mantra is a word that doesn't have any association. It's a sound that you can say, but you can't associate the word with anything. If you was to say apples, you'd think about apples, or the black cat, you'd think about the black cat. The whole time you'd think about the black cat. Whereas with this, it's just a sound that you repeat in your head over and over again. And what you find is all the chatter and the noise and the, I need to do that, and don't forget next Tuesday you've got this, and da-da-da. These voices that are going on in your head, as you're just repeating this word that can't find, like, it can't associate itself with anything, any memories in your mind. Slowly, it's the noises start going away, and then all of a sudden, time stops, and you're just suspended in this blissful state. And then your alarm goes off, and it's 20 minutes, and that's it. And so I started doing it, and I did the first one, and I was like, it was like being hit with a sledgehammer or something. I was like, holy shit, you can feel this good, and you can actually do it in 20 minutes. It's amazing. Yeah. Like, it's completely different than mindfulness and wakefulness and all that kind of stuff. It was totally. You transcend it, essentially, which is why it's called transcendental meditation, into this.
Yeah, I'm really.
So it's cool. It's very cool.
That's very cool. Yeah, because I've had the thing where I'm just like, everything's like I feel like I can feel like my body, like the energy of my body.
Yeah. It's a vibration,
like a wave,
it's a frequency.
like a vibration. Yeah. And then I feel, because I'm doing it with these sounds. Yeah. This thing, it's like the sounds and my body, I feel like they're joined to each other.
Well, they are though, right? Because the chakras.
Yeah.
Have a colour, and the colour is associated by everything's in sevens, so it's the 7 notes: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And then if you times do by 7 times, if you times it 7 times the speed of light, you get red. And re, 7 times the speed of light, you get whatever it is, orange or something like that, or whatever the chakras are. And so if you play that frequency into yourself, like better not on headphones if you do it on a speaker, so you're actually getting the frequency.
It's on a speaker.
And then you meditate, you can go to some weird places. It really does work. And it's all kind of like light and sound is combined.
All connected.
Yeah, that's what chakras are. So it's freaky. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm like so intrigued by what you just said, because I haven't done the chanting, the non-word.
Yeah, so you need to go to them for that. You have to have a course.
Oh,
sit down.
I'd love to do it.
I don't really know how it works if you're a trainer of transcendental meditation, but essentially there's X amount of mantras that they give, and they give you one suitable to your personality. I don't know how that works or whatever, but all I know is it's a sound that doesn't make sense to anything, and because it doesn't make sense, your mind can't think of things while you're saying it. And then eventually it just disappears. Yeah.
I mean, we definitely constantly want to be in the future or in the past.
Well, that's all. You're never anywhere else, are you? You're always either in the past, but the future you're making it up.
Yeah, you're either planning or you're imagining worst case scenarios.
It's never best case scenario, though, is it? That's the problem. Why is it never best case scenario? I mean, for some people it might be, but very rarely is it best case scenario.
No.
It's always like, I'm never going to pay my bills, my house is going to get taken off me, like, everybody hates me, this song's going to suck. It's not like, why does it have to be that way? But it is.
I don't know. Yeah, someone was saying, there's always, I mean, there's definitely loads of quotes about it, but it's much worse in your mind than ever in your reality.
Yeah. And so with that TM, I got really interested in it after that, because it has layers to it as well. So if you keep doing it, basically, the founder of it is a guy called Maharishi. I've probably got his book lying around somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you read his book, it's not the easiest read ever. But I think it's called something like The Art of... In fact, I'll get it. This is the one.
Nice.
I don't know whether that comes through backwards or not, but it's called The Science of Being and the Art of Living. And it's not the easiest read, because he's so uber smart that he's kind of like pouring his brain down in this thing, and you're like, okay, hang in there. But if you do the meditation and then read it, it makes sense. But don't try and read it if you don't do the meditation, because you just think, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
But essentially, he boils it down to two things. There's this constant omnipresent being, which is essentially energy, and then there's the materialized state of that, which is everything in life that you see. And one is infinite, and the other one is not. And we're kind of like suspended between the two. Yeah, so everything has this energy, which essentially is known as, in his book, the being. Is this energy source, and the energy source basically is the life source of everything that's in the universe.
Yeah.
Which is why, and he actually was the one who predicted that science would find the unified field. So I don't know if you know, but in science they found the unified field, which basically is the field of relativity that connects everything in the universe. Wow. Which is exactly the same as what he's saying. He's saying there's a field of energy which connects everything. Yeah. But he knew that way before science even predicted it. So he's saying everything essentially that's out there, songs, everything, is energy waiting to be manifested into a being. So
love that.
In terms to close a giant loop on a tangent, what Noel Gallagher was saying is actually technically true, right? Because he's going, well, if it's energy and it's in a field and it's out there, it's just waiting to take a form of something, and that can be a song, or it could be a person, or it could be anything. I don't know if any of that's true, but it certainly interests the shit.
No. It's said, and it kind of makes sense, because I think we all know it if we're especially we make music, and anyone who makes music.
Yeah.
When you're in a really good state in your mind, you're very calm. All these ideas come to you.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly when you're in the moment as well. I find that if I'm in the moment and you're playing, you never fuck up. Whereas if you're thinking if you're playing a gig and you think like you lose your way, it's always because you're thinking what comes next or what part you screwed up previously. But if somehow your mind's drifted from what just happened or what is going to happen, and then that's when you screw up. Whereas if you just stay in the moment, you don't.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
I was listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
And he was talking with a scriptwriter, and they were talking about exactly this. They were talking about the scriptwriter guy and he's probably really famous, and anyone who's into film will be like, can't believe you don't know his name. But anyway, I can't remember his name, so I'm really bad with names, as I told you earlier.
I'm so bad with names as well. I really am.
But yeah, he was saying like there's this, you've got the ego, which is like, you plan your week and, you need to go and get shopping tomorrow and you need to do that work. You need to send that invoice. That's your like the doer of your brain. And also that part of your brain wants to keep you safe, wants you to fulfill this role because we know what's going to happen if you do this. We can plan it and we can do it. And then there's this state, which is like what you were saying, that being, where all the creativity happens.
Yeah.
And they, but this ego is like, no. I can't exist in that world. You have to come over here.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
And so it's like this fight between the two of like the ego being like, I'm sensible. I know how things are going to go down. Like this, you're going into the unknown here with this wrong idea. And how do you know it's going to work? I don't know if it's going to work. I think you probably should do this.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about that.
Yeah. But the what really sort of like a lightning bolt hit me is when you're in that transcended state, and it's difficult to say how long you're in it for because time doesn't really exist anymore. Fear doesn't exist. Happiness doesn't exist. Fear doesn't exist. Like worry doesn't exist. It's unfathomable to think how they could possibly exist once you've experienced being in it. And then I was like, well, then that just means that my brain is literally everything that I'm scared of is not the thing, but my brain. It's my brain's interpretation. So you can change that.
Yeah.
So like, that means you can do everything then. You can if you're scared of heights, just decide you're not. Like how far down how much you can control it. But
no, it's true.
People get out over these huge fears and stuff, and I think like actually it's comforting for me to know that you've got that much. If you want to believe you can have it, I think you have got that much control. You can change, and then therefore that goes into like mental health. It goes into because people struggle with mental health and things like that. And if there's a way out, or something that you can grasp onto that reminds you that thing that you're really scared of only exists inside your head, and you're making it up. And that's in itself is a mental health, is an illness, right? And I just think I think the hardest thing with that is that people are always triggered into their childhood state by things that are happening around them. So they've got these, coping mechanisms that they've had as a child to keep them safe. And then they're faced with the world and their ego brain goes, I know what we do to keep us safe when this happens. And then they're just taken into that. And they can, and to undo that just takes therapy. And quite frustratingly, therapy isn't available to everyone because it's expensive. Yeah. And the NHS is great, but 6 sessions isn't what someone needs. 6 sessions isn't enough. No. To undo that behavioural that triggering that's happening. Yeah. And I think our brains, there's been some research into something to do with like there's something about our brains that doesn't know whether it's happening to us. The child within is just like thinks this trigger that happens, they're like, but this is real. Yeah. And so the response is that. Well, they did some studies where they had people, I think they did it with like runners, and they put these things on their head to monitor the brain activity. And they said, imagine that you're running the 100 meters now, and then they hooked it up to all the muscles, and they said there was like 98% of the same amount of activity happening within the neurological connectors going to the muscles as there is when you're actually doing it. So really, the brain doesn't understand what's real and what's not, which is interesting.
That's so interesting.
Because you're relying on it going, should I be fearful of that bill that's coming in? Or like, and whereas really, like what TM sort of told me Whereas no, it's all bullshit. And you're like, oh God, how did I not know this like fucking 25 years ago?
I know, but I think there's a lot of like self-abandonment across the board, you know, and things like not paying bills on time, or, you know, not doing exercise, or not eating well, or, you know, getting drunk or all the time, or whatever anybody does as a thing. I feel like there's a lot of coping mechanisms, self-abandonment. Yeah. You know, people in relationships with someone because they're so scared to be on their own. Yeah. You know, but it's not right, but they just like the fear of that. So there's a lot of, you know, I don't know, like, self-abandonment is the best way to, is the best way to put it. And we're all guilty of it in some way, shape or form, because we're humans. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's really, really takes a lot of brain strength and self-belief to go with that thing that happens in transcendental meditation, you know, that belief system that, like, it doesn't matter, everything's fine. Yeah.
Well, the strangest thing is, like, you don't even have to believe that. That's what really got me with TM, is that you don't have to believe in it. You could go into it going, this is total bullshit. But once you do it, you'll come out going, I was wrong. Like, there's no black or white. It's like, you felt it, and there it is. Like, and there it is. Which is quite impressive. I was like, shit, that is very impressive. Worked. Yeah.
I wonder if there's just like a load of kids that we, you know, that are just all, so they don't have that thing where they're just like their child, because your early years are your.
There's a whole thing. Do you know David Lynch?
Yeah.
So he.
I listened to something about this a couple of years ago. Yeah. He was saying if everybody did the transcendental meditation together. Yeah. All at the same time.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to this frequencies and things like that.
He said it would release a frequency that would.
Yeah. So they did.
Sorry, tell your story. I cut in, please.
They did. No, while we're on that one, they did an experiment somewhere. I think it was. I want to say Boston, but I could be wrong. I think it was a city in America. I think it was Boston, but it had a high crime rate in this particular area, and so they hired out a building and they filled it full of TM practitioners, and they all did TM for a certain length of time. And even, you know, they took it maybe in turns or something to always make sure that there was people doing TM, like, you know, 100 or 200 people doing TM at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then they monitored the crime, and all the crime fell away. Like the crime rates in that vicinity went down to the lowest that they'd been recorded. And the studies are on there if you go and probably on the TM website. But David Lynch started doing TM, and now he has the David Lynch Foundation, which is what I paid into in order to get the course. And what they do with that money is they do exactly what you're saying there, is they go out to primarily underprivileged kids. So they go out to like Africa and, you know, these places and areas where kids really need it the most. And they give them TM and they train them how to do it from a young age. So that's where the money's going. So it is happening. I don't know how, you know, how far around the world, but I do think that they should get it into schools. Definitely.
They should, 100%.
But the flip side of that coin is when you do TM a lot, things that you found really like important seem to kind of start falling away a bit, like money and that fancy car.
Yeah, like, so it's hard to be in the world that's been created by humans,
right? Or you know, do corporations want to propagate that kind of mentality in the youth? Because what's going to happen next when they come around the corner is like everyone may realize, actually, I don't need all that shit that you're making. I don't need a brand new phone. I don't need the car.
Well, yes, I mean, you feel, you know, the more, you know, enlightened or whatever the word is everyone wants to say, that you would become less engaged with the way that the world has been made, as in like not made, as in, you know, the world that humans have created, the ideas
constructed,
the construction that we.
Well, that's exactly it.
But that's that guy Wim Hof. He did
He did
a one, didn't he, where he did his breathing techniques, and he got rid of the bacteria, the bad bacteria in his body. And then he taught some other people how to do it. And it was just like, we don't need any medicine.
Exactly. So
the pharmaceuticals are like, put a lid on him.
Well, how much money do pharmaceuticals make from mental you know, illnesses as well? I mean, it's. arguably, if you read that Maharishi book, everything comes from that mental state. Because people aren't in contact with the being, as he puts it, people are kind of like just fending for themselves, dealing with their ego, and that's causing mental illness, which is causing physical illness. Because if you don't feel great, maybe you don't eat right, maybe you drink too much, maybe et cetera, et cetera.
And there's actually now research about it affecting your inflammation in your gut.
About
the microbiomes in your gut being connected to your brain.
Well, everything's got to be connected to your brain at some stage.
So things that you eat actually affect your thoughts. And there's all that research into like if people under stress often get IBS or inflammation in the body, which is why everyone started doing those ice baths, because it reduces the inflammation in your body. But how your brain can cause illnesses.
Or reverse out of them. So I don't know.
We've really gone on one here.
I know,
music.
So going back to music then, Little Boots. Have you worked with her? Or
yes, I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I come from this little town in the northwest called Poulton-le-Fylde.
Yeah.
And for some reason, out of that little town, out came, Fatty.
Yeah, and Chris.
Yeah. So Fatty and Vic Hesketh, who is Little Boots.
Yeah.
We all come from the same little tiny village. And we've all got the same mates, which is so weird.
I've been to her house actually. I don't know if it's still the same one, but I've been there.
In the northwest.
Yeah,
her parents' house.
Her parents' house, yeah.
Yeah. I won't say where. I was about to say where it is, then, but I probably didn't say that.
No.
Yeah. I don't even know if they still live there, but maybe they do. I don't know. I see her brother around quite a bit up there, but obviously I'm not there anymore. But so that was, I thought, a small world, because I speak to Fatty all the time.
He's lovely.
In fact, the music video that I was talking about before was kind of organised by him, because it was using one of the companies that he uses a lot, and also he does our photography as well. I noticed he's done some photographs for you.
Yeah, a long time ago, but when he was because he's in Submotion.
Yeah.
And then I met some of those guys because I was on the dubstep scene doing features, and obviously they're quite well known on that scene. They've got a big following. So, and Fatty knows a load of guys, jazzers, that studied jazz with me as well.
Oh, okay.
So there was quite a few connections of people who'd gone on to like do sessions and stuff, and they'd also done sessions, or they'd done, before sessions, they'd done like function things with him or whatever at the start. So there was quite a lot of connections with that, and then I'd been working with Vic, and I was doing some backing vocals for a gig at Heaven, and Fatty came and played on
is that right?
One of the tunes.
Oh, there you go. That'd be interesting.
So then I realised they were friends, and they'd grown up, and when they were younger had a jazz band or something.
What's it called? Fat Cat Jazz or something. Oh, he'll kill me for not remembering the name. I can't remember the name.
Amazing.
But he's wicked. He's such a good bass player.
He's great.
Yeah, he's insane. Do you know Adam Betts as well?
Yeah, so Adam was at the Academy doing jazz drums, and I was at Trinity doing vocals.
Nice.
And we used to go around. There was like a group of us would go around, and we'd have like a bake-off.
Okay.
Adam would be calling his mum for tips. We're like, that's cheating. Get off that phone right now. And then we also used to play Mario Kart, which everyone seemed to be fine with, apart from me, who just constantly having that thing picking me off the side of the road. Like every time I was just like, I was happy if I didn't come last. I was just hoping not for 7th place, basically.
Bake off and Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So Adam and Matt as well. Matt, who's in Three Trap Tigers.
Yeah, I've never met Matt, but Adam was the last person on the podcast as a guest.
Nice.
So, I'd never met him before, but I'd always been in kind of like one degree of separation away. So we know quite a few people who and I used to go and watch Three Trap Tigers as well.
Yeah.
Who it's not normally like a kind of genre. I don't even know if it's in a genre really, but I just thought and still do think he's probably one of the best drummers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
in my life. He's just incredible. So I think him and Fatty worked on something as well at one point. So the world gets smaller. But yeah, so where did it start for you? Did you come from jazz?
Yeah.
What first got you kind of
into that?
Yeah.
So I've got an older dad, and he's massively into 1940s MGM musicals.
Okay.
Which are the most, you know,
nice,
chauvinistic, misogynistic, absolute car crashes for women.
Yeah.
Calamity Jane just being like, "You're a tomboy. Let's sort that out. Let's put you in a dress." By the end, she's in a dress, and everyone was just like, "Thank God for that."
Oh God.
So, but it turns out, all I wanted to do as a kid was tap dance and play the saxophone. Nice. And what happened was
same time or just
separate? At the same time. I wanted to do all of it at the same time, singing, tapping. And my mum said, "Here's a violin and swimming, because you need to be able to swim." And I was like, "Okay, so it's not tap dancing and saxophone, but I'll take it." And so basically, I did some, like, I was always singing all the time. Yeah. Like, I used to do impressions of Judy Garland.
Nice.
I was big fan of hers at the time. Doris Day.
Yeah.
I used to just sing all these tunes. And then I joined this Saturday music school for violin, like little orchestra, and they had a big band. And I went and asked the big band leader, "Can I sing?" And she said yes. So I was like, perfect. And then we went and started a small band. Well, actually, no, the guys started a small band, and I went along. And it's one of those ridiculous stories. We turned up to this venue. They were doing a small band gig, and I just was there because they were my mates. And the piano was out of tune, and the trumpet player couldn't tune to it. And they were like, "Oh God, Anna, can you sing? Can you sing?" And I was like, "Yeah. Well, what do you want me to sing?" And they opened up the jazz rule book, and they were like, "Would you know any of these tunes?" And it just turns out that all 1940s musicals are in that book. I was like, "Yeah, I know all these tunes." They were like,
a bit of serendipity.
Yeah, I know. So I was just like, "Yeah, there we are." So then I started singing with them, and then we did some Aretha. We did other stuff. We did like Aretha Franklin and Nina Simone, and we just did a mixture of soul, funk, and jazz. And then some of those guys were auditioning for music college, and I hadn't heard of music college. No. I was like this I was the art geek at school, and painting and making stuff with clay. I mean, that was my thing. And then when I got to the upper sixth, I was like, I don't want to do art. I think I want to do music.
Yeah.
And then these guys were like, "Oh, you should audition." I was like, "I don't know what that is." So it was a bit of a shock to the system to go to a music conservatoire when I had no idea what it was before I got there.
Yeah. Sure.
It was pretty terrifying.
Yeah. So could you read music or anything?
Yeah. I played violin up to grade 8.
You're not told.
I did classical singing and up to grade 8. Terrible classical singer though, awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I sang. I don't know what. I'm definitely an alto, but for some reason I was singing soprano. So you can hear it in my speaking voice. It's like super low. I don't know why I was attempting to sing a flower duet. That's what was happening.
Give it a go, so no way.
You want to do it once? Have you done it yet?
You don't want to hear me sing that.
Add that to the timetable. I could read music. And I'd had a jazz one-to-one teacher for singing, and we'd done all the harmony. So I could do all the written papers and stuff. I think it was just really intimidating to be with people who had like been brought up believing that they'd always go to music college.
Yeah.
And me just sort of last minute being like, "Oh, I think I'm going to go to music college."
Yeah.
Some
of my favourite musicians aren't even like Tom York. I don't even think he can read music.
It's very much like I've got loads of friends who are producers who can't read music. Yeah. And they're amazing. And it's very much like an oral perception thing. It really? It's just like, that's exactly what it is. And some people can just hear things. And I will say that when I came out of music college, I could hear harmony, and I was picking out notes and scales and things. It's just a language. I'd learned a language. Yeah. A new language, a musical language. And I'd pushed myself and learned different ways to do rhythm. And I had a really wicked I had a drum teacher. We used to do improv together, and
Okay.
I'm not a drummer, but you know, I used to play rhythms and he'd play rhythms, and you know, and I just learned. I'm really grateful for it. It just was it was scary. I learned a lot, but it was, I think I was just terrified by the nature of, you know, everyone being excellent.
That'll be your ego, though.
My ego is no, exactly doesn't bloody exist.
Shit. There's me thinking it exists all this time.
If only I'd had that. I would have unlocked my throat chakra, because I had a vocal I had a vocal disorder in my first year at that college. No. Yeah, and I had to learn to speak again.
Oh no, really? Wow.
Yeah, and I literally had to. I couldn't sing. It was like so painful, and it was so painful to talk. And
was it caused by singing, or was it something?
My larynx was stuck really high.
Yeah.
And my vocal cords wouldn't close properly, so there's always a bit of air in the voice. But my teachers kept saying, "Oh, it sounds great," and I was like, "It doesn't feel great."
Yeah.
And in the end, a guy came in to do a talk with the classical singers, and I spoke to him afterwards, and he was like, "Your speaking voice is all wrong." And obviously, I went home and cried. I can't even speak. The ego, just like Shawshank Redemption on the floor, like, what? God! You know, that was happening, because I was a drama queen. Oh, no. And I had to do all this speech therapy, and I tried and had to do this vocal coaching technique. I found these guys over in America, and they completely fixed my voice, which was awesome. So I learned a lot about the muscles that make up the vocal mechanism, and I learned a lot about the voice because of that. So I'm grateful for that, because I know exactly what's happening when I'm singing, and if things start to go wrong, if I'm on a tour and my voice is swollen or whatever, I know the answers for those issues. So on reflection, I'm very glad that it happened to me. But at the time, I was like, this is just...
How's your timing?
What the fuck is going on? I'm already shitting myself, and now I can't even speak. So, yeah.
Oh, man. So where did that kind of dubstep
come into it?
Yeah, like the Rinse. Are you associated with Rinse FM?
I've worked with a lot of guys who are on Rinse.
Okay.
And have labels that are affiliated with the Rinse. Rinse label.
Yeah.
I went to do you know DOUR Festival in Belgium? DOUR.
DOUR. No, I'm not familiar with that one.
And I saw who did I see there? I saw loads of people. I saw Battles.
Oh yeah.
I saw Flying Lotus.
Yeah.
I saw Foals.
What year was this?
Boys Noise. I think it was 2009, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good time to see all of those. Listed there, yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, what have I been? I kind of had fallen into a bebop, hard bop trance, I'll be honest. I was so wanting to get a good mark in my degree and wanting to understand this, what seemed like a puzzle that needed to be put together, that I just kind of lost. Before that, I'd listened to all music. Yeah. I was massively into Donna Summer, Led Zeppelin, ABBA, Beatles, Rage Against the Machine. I listened to everything. I didn't ever have that, if someone was good at singing, I would still love it. Celine Dion, the woman can sing.
Yeah.
But I was into a really broad spectrum of music. But when I went to study jazz, it was just so I felt like I was really trying to craft, learn something. So I came out of the degree and was just went to this festival and was like, oh my God, there's all this music. And I've just been listening to this one type of music for so long. It sort of woke me up, and I absolutely loved heavy electronica. Yeah. Boys Noise, and at the time I think it was Crookers, Boys Noise, Diplo was doing Major Labour. Major Labour? Major Labour.
Feels like it sometimes.
Major Lazer. Justice. Exactly. And there was just all these amazing synth sounds. There's just it's amazing. I was just like, this is incredible. What is this? I absolutely love it. I was like, this is amazing. So I came home and was just like, right, I need to learn how to use Logic.
Yeah.
Why did I pick advanced jazz studies instead of the music technology module, you idiot? Livid with myself. I mean, John Coltrane isn't going to help me write a song.
Well,
I mean, I love him.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But maybe you'd come out sounding, not the way you do, and so therefore you wouldn't have that like jazz edge of.
Yeah. No, I'm really grateful for the jazz.
And stuff,
I think that at that moment in time, my younger self was like, what have you been doing? Why did you not learn Logic?
Yeah.
So obviously I sat down on GarageBand for a bit, and then eventually was like, no, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy Logic. And then watched, asked a lot of friends to sort of show me the way a bit, and then watched some YouTube videos, etc.
Yeah.
And then, just started, I tried to find like producers to work with, because I thought, oh, maybe I can make like a demo, and then, they'll know what I'm talking about, and we'll write something together. But just what kept happening over and over again was that people were like, make what they want to make, and just ignoring me
totally
completely.
Different.
Completely not listening to what I was saying. And then I was like, maybe I'm not explaining myself very well. Maybe I need to know what I want to do more. Yeah. So I was like, what I'll do for now is I'll just keep making the music, and trying to get better at it. And maybe I can write with some other people and for them. And then it won't be, I don't have to worry about this thing where it becomes all them, because it is from the beginning for them. Yeah. So, a friend of mine was DJing with Vaughan, Dan, who in Bristol. He was actually DJing with him in Swansea, and at dubstep nights. And Vaughan and I connected, and he sent me some music, and then I wrote "Taking Over," which was my first dubstep release, just before Reflections, which was the sort of one that was ended up on This Is Dubstep 2014. It was very much a tribal dubstep tune, which was really big at that moment in time. So that one did really well. Actually, Taking Over did very well as well. I love what Vaughan did. He actually ended up taking apart completely the whole production and redoing it based on my vocal.
Oh, nice.
And it's just, I don't know if you've listened to it, but it's like really atmospheric, and just, it was so different at the time. But it really felt like me, and it really felt like him, and it just really worked well together. Yeah. And he's a lot younger than me, so he ended up like becoming like my little brother, and come hang out in London and write music together. He's a good guy. So that's how I started into that world. And then I used to go and see, I love Scream and Benga.
Yeah, it's a shame Warren's not on, because he's mates with them. So he'd have loved nattering to you about that. But never mind, maybe next time. But so Scream and Benga get mentioned a lot on this podcast.
I bet. So they're Digital Mystics, and like there was Casper and Rusco, and there was all that. And I used to go down to what's that club that was in Greenwich?
I thought you were going to say Plastic People for a second.
No. Yeah, Plastic People as well. But there was one. Yeah. There was one big space in Greenwich, and I can't remember what it was called, and then it shut down. Oh God. And anyway, I think it was like hospitality night or something, and room 2 was Casper, and it was like dubstep was always room 2. Yeah. If you go to a drum and bass night. And just got really into that whole scene. End up like knowing they're really chatty, like a lot of the DJs on that scene, and sort of ended up chatting to them after gigs, and go to the Black Sheep in Croydon. Yeah. And just got to know all the guys really, and then sort of became part of that scene, and which led to quite a few collaborations, some that came out and some that didn't, but quite a lot have come out. And and then through that's how I got asked to do Flowdan's album.
Yeah.
Through knowing him.
So what's sort of next, would you say, for you as kind of like this solo project? Are you gonna? Is there an album coming, or have you? And also live as well. I see that you collaborate live with live musicians and stuff like that. So is that a format that you're going to take out on the road, if that's allowed at any point?
At any point. Future? I mean, it's difficult as an independent artist, and it's amazing in many ways. And it's amazing that loads of independent artists can actually find their audience and make a career out of their music now. It's more possible, and there's more resources for that to happen. But it is hard. You are doing the job of 10 people.
Yeah.
You know, with all the content, you know, that I make and everything on my page. And
yeah, you can see it's well considered though.
yeah, I spend a lot of time doing it because I'm really arty and I'm also a bit, you know, anal about it.
Yeah, but to be honest with you though, you, unfortunately in this day and age, you can have really amazing music, but if you're just shit at presenting yourself online, you'll bypass so many people that would otherwise be interested in you. It's just the way the world is, you know. Some girls, unfortunately, or some people, unfortunately, react to that by stripping off, and you know, which is kind of a downside to it all. But then you find these nuggets of people that have that kind of like artistic visual crossover with music, like you, that seem to kind of like capitalize in a good way in that area.
I like it. I like there being an extension of. I've sort of gone off a tangent. Sorry, you asked me about live. I will come back to it.
We keep doing that.
But I really, I like the way that art that you can develop. I don't know. I did A-level art, and I always, you know, like when you go to an art gallery and you see a blue square, and you're like, it's a blue square. Yeah. But when you see like the work that leaded up to that point, it makes sense. And like with art, I used to love that process of getting to the final point, and it's the same with music. This sort of like unknown process, and then when you get to finishing a song, you're like, you can sort of visualize what mentally, like what would fit with that music, and be it a music video or whatever. And with the last one with Islands, I just had this idea of a collage video, and I just went through Instagram and I was trying to find someone, and I found Laura, and she's incredible.
I checked her out because she'd done some video, this cool video thing that she did.
She's so creative and so cool. And she's such a nice person. I was like really lucked out that I found her. And she responded and was like up for it.
Is she like in Oslo or somewhere or something?
She's in Belgium somewhere.
Is it Belgium? Okay.
She's Finnish. She's
right. But she's wicked though. She's very talented.
She's so good. So I was really lucky with that. But the idea of like, you know, sharing other art forms with your art form and it all being related to each other as like for a reason, not just to stick it on, but it all makes sense. Yeah. And I actually really enjoy that whole process. I wish that all my time could be spent doing that. Yeah. Worrying about paying bills.
Exactly.
But you know that is such a joy to do for sure. Sorry, I tangent massively. You were talking about live. The thing with live is is budget, and I think that I need to work out what I can afford to do, because obviously I don't want to not pay people to play with me. Ideally, you know, I'd have a bloody horn section, string quartet. Yeah. You know, a couple of synths, a drummer. Yeah. You know, I'd go wild. I'd love to have a band and arrange it all for them, but it will be based probably on budget, and it might be me and a drummer, or it might be me and a drummer and someone else, but I'll have to see. But I would love to do it. The next thing I'm doing is I've got another single that I've just finished that's coming out, some remixes. Really hoping I can do a music video for it. Got a really strong idea for a music video, but it's money dependent, funding dependent. So we'll see what happens there. But I really hope that comes together, because I'm very excited about the idea and the concept and everything. Yeah. So, and it all relates really well to the song. So we'll see. And then I'm writing, I've got like about 6 tunes on the go at the minute. I'm trying to like do an EP for early next year. Okay. And I'll probably do a couple of EPs and a single next year. That's probably what I'm going to do, and then sort of build myself into the album. I'm just like slowly build yourself up into like, I can do it. You can do this. Finishing a song is like, you start a song, you're like, this is bloody fun. This is great. And then you're just like, oh, I think it's nearly done. And then the end bit seems to go on like we felt from the moment they said it was June 21st. Do you know what I mean? And everyone was like, that's forever away.
Yeah, we've just done. Well, I say we've just done it out. It's not even out yet, but we've released. This is the 3rd single going out. We recorded this thing about 2 years ago, and it's not even gone out yet. And Yeah, you know, I mean, there's three of us that are making, so like the process seems to take even longer because you send a file over and then someone else sits on it for 6 months and then sends it back and stuff. But yeah, but weirdly though, because we all produce anyway, we just decided we're going to do remixes, and instead of doing like a single with 2 remixes, we'll invite a guest remix on, and then we'll each do a remix of that song each. So you get a guest, and then there's 3 of us, so you'd have 4. So then we're going to start releasing them as well. And when I sit down to do a remix of a track that we've already done, professional as ever, for some reason it takes like a day, and I'm done. It's weird. Whereas when you sit down to write it, you're like 6 months in and you're like, fuck, delete it all. I hate it. Like, delete everything, let's start again. You know? Whereas remixing, it's like the pressure's off. Yeah. Or something. You're just arranging and chopping up. You're arranging and like,
you're having fun. You're playing with, stuff that, I think there's this, that it works already.
Yeah.
So you're like confident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, this all sounds good and cohesive together.
Yeah.
And then you're playing with something that or I don't know, there's more confidence in the process of it. I love it.
Yeah. So, it's been interesting, but I think we've covered all bases, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Oh, where can people find me? Everything's ANIMAI music. ANIMAI.
You spell it right.
Music. I just dyslexic was just like, yeah, and oh God, everyone always goes like puts 2 N's and does it ANIMAI or ANIMAI or ANIMAI music, all one thing. My Instagram's the one I spend most of my creativity on.
Yeah.
I am going to put more on my other socials. They're not that bad or anything. I'm
the same. I don't think I've even logged into Facebook for years. I just don't. I can't be arsed. I just can't be arsed. And you can tell as well because you look at the Instagram and there's like a couple of thousand followers or whatever. And you look at Facebook, there's like 4. Like one of them's my mum or something. There's just no effort.
It's like nothing is happening here. You should just put a little gif of a tumbleweed on your page.
Nothing's happening. So, yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been lovely nattering to you about everything from meditation to Mario Kart.
Yeah, we really...
And bake-offs.
We were the beginning of Great British Bake Off.
Yeah.
I think Adam's cake had a bit of plastic in it once. He should have got disqualified for that one.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was a lid of something that had fallen in. I ended up with it. It was awful.
Stick to drumming.
I didn't die though, so live to tell the tale.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to listening to whatever you've got coming up next.
Yeah.
And it's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
Yeah, and you, mate.
All right.
Have a good one.
I'll catch you soon.
Bye.
See you later, bye. Well, that was it, you bad motherfuckers. Thank you so much for sticking around. Oh, come out with some shit. Fucking shit. My mum's now texting me. For fuck's sake. Oh, Mum. Oh, bloody hell. She'll be listening to this as well. Thank you for sticking around. And smash the like and subscribe and hit the bell and that. Or don't. I don't, honestly, don't give a fuck. I mean, I do. It'd be nice to grow subscribers, but everyone's just fucking like, subscribe to me all the time, and it gets on your bit fucking tits. So, look, subscribe if you want to, and if you don't want to, may peace be with you. I care about you. I don't care whether you subscribe or not. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and head over to Thru The DAW podcast on Instagram and give us a like and a follow on there if you want as well. We've got some more stuff coming up, which is really good. And I think. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm going. I'm tired and I'm off. See you in a bit. That was the worst outro ever.